On this episode of Delivering Marketing Joy, we talk with industry trainer Rosalie Marcus on why sales training is always a good idea. Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby Hasseman, and I'm joined today by industry trainer and industry legend and content creator and marketer and sales trainer, Rosalie Marcus. Rosalie, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kirby. It's a pleasure to be here.
So you've been doing sales training for many years now, I know, and so I wanted to dig into some of the tips and mistakes and some of the training things that you provide for the people you work with. So I wanted to start off with some mistakes that salespeople make. What are some of the biggest mistakes you think sales professionals in our industry or any industry make?
Actually, these would go for especially but any sales professional. And I actually have a report that I did called The 10 Big Mistakes That Promotional Products Professionals Make and How to Avoid Them and Double Your Sales. So let me give you 3 of the mistakes from that report. Okay. And the first would be not pre-qualifying prospects. A lot of sales professionals spend too much time on prospects that don't have a want, need, or the ability to purchase. So I recommend that you have a set of qualifying questions that you have in your mind when you go on a first call or when you're meeting someone that would let you know that this person is or is not a good prospect for you. You're not spinning your wheels, because I've seen too many people in the promotional products industry spend hours trying to come up with price quotes, and they find out this person didn't have the authority, they were just shopping around, they're not really interested, those type of things. So I think that's huge, to qualify your prospects. And I recommend one of the easiest ways to qualify prospects is to figure out who you don't want. And I'm going to give you a little analogy. I think selling is similar to dating. If you can think back, anybody that's listening to this, to when you were single, or maybe you're still single, have an image in mind of the kind of person you want to go out with and the kind of person you want to build a relationship with. And you should have that also for the people that you want to do business with. And it can be their position in the company, know the names of the positions that may have the authority to order promotional products, how much they are able to, can they give you repeat orders? Are these the kind of people that, now here's an important question that many people neglect. Are these the kind of people that you would enjoy working with? So definitely one big mistake is not pre-qualifying clients and spending too much time with the wrong clients.
Right.
The second big mistake, and this is big in promotional products industry or for anybody that's a sales professional, is that, let's go with the promotional products industry. Just focusing on the product. Don't focus on the product that you're selling. Focus on the need and how that product is a solution for a need that the client has. It makes no sense to go in to see a client and say that we have a 99-cent special on coffee mugs or pens for 20 cents. Focus on the client's needs and how what you do solves a problem for that client or helps them market their business better. And then you can use a promotional product to help solve that need. But go in first, asking questions and focusing on their needs. The third big mistake, and I think this is huge, and I've been guilty of this. I think that all of us may do this sometimes, is not effectively following up. You need to follow up consistently, and you need to follow through. 2 things, follow up and follow through. So I think it's a great idea when you meet someone at the end of every first sales meeting to say, what's the next step? When should I get in touch with you again? Type of thing. And then call the person, send them an email, send them a personal letter, send them a spec sample or a digital proof, but follow up and follow up consistently in a variety of different ways. If you keep following up and saying, are you ready to order yet, or ready to order it, that grows old. But if you follow up and you say, you know, I just read this great article and I think that it would be fantastic and really help your business, I'm going to pass that on to you so that your name is always visible. Or follow up with an email newsletter or a marketing tip or a spec sample with their logo on it. Be creative with your follow-up, and follow through is always do what you say you're going to do, because sales are based on know, like, and trust.
Right. You know, that's great advice, Rosalie. And, you know, I love the saying, the fortune is in the follow-up, for sure. And one of the things you said there that I absolutely love is, you know, send an article. I tell my team, you know, try to contact your client when you're not asking them for money. I think sometimes that's a good way to build rapport. And so that's great. And that follow-up leads me nicely into the next question, because you know, you need to continue to follow up on training and education, I think, as a sales professional. Why, and I assume you would agree with that, why do you think it's important to continue training as you move down your career path in sales?
Well, you know, you grow stale like anything else. And I think that training does a few things. The world of sales is constantly evolving. What was working in sales even 5 years ago is different than what's working today. And let me give you an example. It used to be buyer beware. That was the saying. Now it is seller beware, because we can be evaluated on the internet. People are constantly posting comments. You really have to be on the top of your game, and you really have to have a total understanding of what's going on. And training gives you that understanding. It gives you a new perspective. It helps motivate you. It does all kinds of things that can be really helpful. Plus, you get to interact with your colleagues and hear what they're doing as well. And I think it's really important in sales to stay motivated.
Yeah, it's kind of the sharpening of the saw, as
yeah, absolutely, sharpening of the saw. I know I belong to coaching groups. I listen to sales trainers all the time. I got started listening to Brian Tracy tapes years ago, one of the most famous sales trainers out there. There are a lot of sales trainers that I follow, and I consistently learn something new. I've never been to a training event where I didn't take away at least one tip that I could use in my business. So it's really important just to keep your ideas sharp and fresh, and to interact with your colleagues. I highly recommend going to training events at industry trade shows.
Yeah, I totally agree, Rosalie. One of my favorite quotes in the world, and I think it relates to what you just said, is even when you go to sales trainings that you're like, oh, I know all this, but the question you have to ask yourself is, are you doing them? And that quote is, the greatest distance in the world is the distance between I know and I do. And
I love that.
Yeah, right. And so I think it's
absolutely.
It's one that you can go even into basic rudimentary sales training and go, you know what, I can sharpen up on that. I know it, but I'm not doing it every day. And so I think that's great advice. So speaking of advice for people who are, let's say for somebody who's just entering the promotional industry, or someone who's relatively new, what are some tips you can give them to kickstart their career off right?
Okay, I'll give you 3 tips here. One of the most important ones is to build your network. I would say 95% of the sales I have ever gotten in my sales career, which is 25 plus years, were from people that I met through networking events and through being active in my community. I'm not a big believer in cold calls, and I think the more you are out there, and these days you can do it on LinkedIn. You don't actually, but build your network, and build your network by giving back, by always, if you, I recommend attending at least one networking event every week if you're just starting out, meet people, and ask them who would be a good referral for them. See how you can help them. That's one tip. Mm-hmm. Definitely build your network. Another tip, and this is huge in the promotional products industry, is be choosy about your suppliers. Not all suppliers are created equal, and I recommend having a key group of suppliers that you give the bulk of your business to. That doesn't mean that you can't sell outside of your key group, but you'll get better pricing, you'll get better service, and you'll know their line, and the relationship. And relationships in this industry are crucial. So I think that's really, really important. Something else that's really important in this industry, the devil's in the details. Very important for somebody just starting out to get proofs on or sign-ups on orders, and to really make sure that what your supplier is producing is what your customer really wants. And of course, the other tip that we talked about was follow-up. This is a great tip for anyone in sales. You know, it can take 5 to 7 times and sometimes much, much longer before a sale happens. And a lot of salespeople give up. And truthfully, it's the people that stick with it, that follow up, but follow up in the ways that I said, with a marketing tip, with something that's valuable to the client, are the ones that get the sale.
Yeah, no, that's great stuff, Rosalie, and I appreciate you answering my 3 questions. As you know, I think you've seen the show. You get a chance to ask me one question, so I'll give you the floor to ask me one.
Okay, Kirby, this is National Small Business Week, and I would like to know the best piece of advice you have ever received in your business.
Wow, best advice I've ever received in my business. Boy, there's a lot. I think that I'm thinking through some of the things that I've said. I heard a piece of advice. I really like what you said about giving back. I think that people buy from people they like, know, and trust, and you mentioned that. And I think by putting yourself out there in a way that gives back to the community, or whatever community you want to be a part of, is always good. And one person said to me that being in small business and being an entrepreneur, it's really not about what business you choose. It's about the business itself. So it doesn't matter if you're selling shoes or promotional products or cars. If you create a customer experience within that business that is exciting and fun and worth talking about and worth sharing, you're probably going to be successful. So in other words, it's not so much about the medium, it's about creating a customer experience that's awesome. And I think that, Zappos or some of these other businesses that create word of mouth without doing a ton of marketing get that. And I think we all, as entrepreneurs and small businesses, need to aspire to that.
Oh, I totally agree. I think that's great advice. And speaking of giving back, at my website, promobizcoach.com, I do have a free special report that anybody in the industry can download on the 10 big mistakes and how to avoid them and double your sales. So thank you so much for inviting me to be on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rosalie. I really appreciate it. Once again, that website is promobizcoach.com, correct?
Correct.
All right, awesome. Well, that's going to wrap up another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. Rosalie, thank you so much for being here, and we will see you next time. Hey, thanks for watching, but wait! Can you do me a favor? Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done it already. The way to do it's right over here. And hey, if you want to watch the last episode, check that out over here. Again, before you leave, subscribe!